Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this episode and the podcast, the Alex Beyond Thoughts podcast with me, your host, Alex. It is so lovely to have you here. Today, we are talking all about the fact that you're feeling overwhelmed right now and how to get yourself out of this overwhelm. Because I know so many people at this stage of the year who just feel so lost, feel really overwhelmed, and I want to help you target this specific overwhelm. We're going to have another episode about sort of mid-year plans and what to do if you're feeling lost. So if you think that's more you, there will be that episode coming out soon. But this is specifically for you if you're feeling that overwhelm. You're feeling like your body's on panic mode, you don't really know what to do with yourself, and everything's just feeling like it's a bit too much at the moment. So let's tackle that straight away today. So I have three key things, and like always, I'm going to branch off and talk a little bit more about other parts of these three things. But I have three key things that I want to talk to you about today. So we'll dive straight into step one. Step one has a few has a few parts to it, right? So when we're talking about this overwhelm, I want you to stop. I want you to reassess. I want you to check in, and then I want you to execute. Because the only way you actually deal with this overwhelm is by executing. But until you tackle the previous steps of actually stopping, reassessing, checking in, you're not going to be able to execute because you're going to have no idea what you're supposed to be executing on. So let's start with the stop. Okay. I need you to stop what you're doing, even if you're doing something right now and you feel like you're procrastinating something or you're supposed to be doing something else and you're not, but you're listening to this episode. I need you to stop and just let yourself sit in this moment. Acknowledge the fact that you're feeling overwhelmed. Acknowledge the fact that you're not feeling your best self. And just sit with that feeling for a minute and stop trying to avoid it and stop trying to get rid of it. I want you to just sit with that feeling for a second and know that it's okay to feel that way, right? Know that it's okay to feel overwhelmed, especially at this stage of the year when you're seeing other people achieve their goals, you're seeing people hit tens of millions of pounds and all the good stuff that other people are achieving. It's making you feel a kind of way. You're comparing yourself, you're comparing your progress, even to maybe yourself last year or to yourself 3 months ago. We need to stop and we need to just feel that emotion for a moment. We need to feel the fact that we're overwhelmed. And then once you've settled with that for a second, and you've let yourself feel those emotions, we're going to then reassess. And when we say reassess, we mean in the kind of same way we mean check in. We're going to see what you actually, where you're supposed to be at right now and where you are. We're going to check in, reassess and check in are kind of one and the same. But when we're reassessing, we're looking at where am I supposed to be right now? What are the things I'm supposed to be working on? How am I supposed to be feeling right now? And we're saying this with like no level of shame. We're doing this completely objectively. Where did I say to myself, where did I promise myself I was going to be at this stage? Where are we in connection to that? And if you are miles off the goal, if you're miles away from where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing right now, that's absolutely okay. You just haven't made it right now. However, we need to know what the measure is of that gap. So you know the execution and the level of work you need to do to get there for the later stages of sorting that out, right? Of sorting out the execution. So we need to reassess where are we supposed to be right now? How far are we from the goal? And what is it going to take? Check in with yourself. What is it going to take for you to get to this stage that you're currently meant to be at? Part of this reassessing is checking in with yourself. Do I actually want this anymore? Was this something that I thought I wanted? And now that I've started doing it, it's really not feeling good. It's really not feeling aligned with what I want. It's not aligning with the things I value. It's not aligning with the things I believe in. I've got a little bit off track, and this isn't what I want anymore. Because that's perfectly okay. You get to decide that what you were working on or what you're working towards isn't something you actually want or need for your life, either at this stage or in the future. So reassess, is this thing that I'm supposed to be doing right now, that I'm supposed to be feeling, that I'm supposed to be working towards, is it what I still want? If it's no, then you kind of need to restart the process, plan again for what you need coming forward, where what you need to do going forward as well, and you can just start that path instantly. But if you are wanting to be on the thing that you're supposed to be doing right now, quote unquote. um, we're then going to say, okay, this is actually what I want. This is where I want to be going. I've not done the things previously to get myself in this position. However, I'm going to do it now. And from that check-in with yourself, from making sure that this is still aligned, making sure this is still the goal, this is still the thing you want, we can then start executing on this. So we can plan and we can execute to make sure that you're not going to miss the goal for the next deadline that you've set yourself. And it's quite important for you to have a deadline that you set yourself because otherwise you're kind of aimlessly floating. And this is where the overwhelm can set in because you don't actually know when you need to complete this thing by. It's kind of all up in the air. You don't have any kind of structure to help you actually do the thing that you're supposed to be doing, right? So you've stopped, you've felt the feelings, you've understood why you're in this place right now, you've reassessed where you're supposed to be, what the measure of the gap is, how much you need to do in order to get there, and exactly what those steps look like. If it's not the thing you still want anymore, you've redone that process and said, okay, these are the goals. This is where I would like to be. This is my deadline. This is exactly how I need to get there. And now we need to execute because part of your overwhelm is probably the fact that you're not doing what you are needing to be doing. And I've been in this place so many times. I'm currently a little bit in this place with myself and with the things that I need to get executing. But it's a process. We are life. This is life. We are humans. It happens. So now in your execution, we need to set you up in the best way so that you can actually get these things done that you're promising yourself. So you've given yourself your word that you're going to get this done now. You have to actually do it. So this can look like planning ahead in your Google Calendar. If you are doing the 9 to 5 and everything, then making sure you've got your work schedule all planned out. And this actually starts as well in your work. If you have a side hustle, you're doing a project, you're learning music, whatever it is, if you aren't executing in your work, you're going to find it really hard to execute in your life and the things that you actually want to be doing because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I think that's quite a hard thing to understand when you're first getting started in supporting yourself, in changing your mindset, in building a business, whatever it is. If you do one thing in a great way, that's going to bleed over into other areas of your life. If you do things in a lazy, shortcut, like half-assed way, that's going to bleed into other areas of your life. So if you aren't executing in your work, in your job, and you aren't showing up for yourself to a higher standard in that, it's going to leak into the things that you're supposed to be doing, quote unquote, in your free time, in your planned time for your job, for your hobby, whatever it is. So I love to time block. So I know exactly what is going on in my week. I know exactly how much time I have to do my task. So say in my week, I've got my Google Calendar up. Everything is color coded. So I know my editing is in red, my recording is in blue. You see what I mean? So I can see visually where I have all of my work blocks in the week. I can see exactly what tasks I have. So in this week, I'm working on stuff for Elite Mind. I'm editing for a vlog, a travel vlog for my YouTube videos. I'm recording 2 podcasts this week. So all of this is time blocked. So I know what availability I have for the rest of my goals. So if I know I need a 4 hour check-in to do all the things that I've just mentioned, I need to stop and actually feel my feelings. I need to reassess. I need to check in with myself and I need to execute. I know I need maybe 4 hours. I'm not saying you do. I need 4 hours to get that done for myself. So I have to time block 4 hours in. So I know that this week I have that time. I might have to change it from Sunday to Tuesday afternoon, but that time block doesn't remove from my calendar. I know I have to get that in somewhere. So this is going to help you with the overwhelm because you can see what amount of time you have available to work on these things. And it's going to help you stop adding things to your to-do list because you don't physically have the time to put them in. It's all good and well saying you're going to start a TikTok series and you're going to start a new vlog series and you're going to film for this and you're going to go shop for that and you're going to spend time with your best friends as well as your boyfriend or girlfriend or your parents, whatever it is. But if you don't actually have the hours available in your week, as well as your 9 to 5, as well as your Saturday job, whatever, how are you going to do that? You're not. So you're just going to cause more overwhelm for yourself. You're going to feel like shit because you're not doing the things that you said to yourself you would. And it's going to be a repetitive cycle because you'll do it the next week and the next week and the next week. And then all of that overwhelm is going to build up and you're going to feel bad because you keep letting yourself down. You keep not doing the things that you said to yourself you're going to do. We're seeing the cycle, right? We're seeing the spiral. So time block your week, even if it's for the first few weeks, so you can see what your actual load is, how much you're trying to fit into your weeks. Accurately time how long you need to do things. I know a lot of people who look at mindset work and things like this have neurodivergence, they have ADHD, all that good stuff. So time blindness is a thing, and you think something takes you 5 minutes that actually takes you an hour, etc., etc. Block in the amount of time and give yourself a little bit extra so you know that you actually have the time you need to complete the task, with 15 minutes of scrolling your phone, with the procrastination for 10 minutes if that's what you do. Give yourself that time within that time block so you know you still have time to get it done, because it's all good and well being back to back blocked from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. But we know you're going to get distracted in that time. We know that you're going to get off task and things are going to be harder, or you're going to feel resistant to doing something. So you need that bit of space and the acknowledgement that, okay, if I can only get 3 tasks done today, what are the most important things? You've planned ahead for that. So you don't have to have the overwhelm in the moment of sitting there and going, well, I have 5 tasks to do. I only have time to do 2.5. Which do I pick? How do I sort this out? When am I going to fit it into the rest of my schedule? Because you've already planned ahead for that. You know that you've only got time to do these 3 tasks and you've put that in your diary, right? So this is part of your execution. This is part of setting yourself up for success. This is part of eliminating the overwhelm. So time blocking, looking at your calendar ahead of time, seeing how much time you actually have to dedicate to the task you're promising yourself to doing, is going to eliminate so much of this overwhelm you're feeling. Another part of this, if you don't have time to do the tasks you're saying you're doing, don't put them in your schedule. Don't promise yourself that you're going to do them, because by breaking those promises time and time again to yourself and not showing up as you promised yourself you would, it's going to make it so much harder the next time you want to do that thing, because you are building a resistance in your mind and you're building this avoidance in your mind that tells your brain, this is not a fun task. This is not a safe task. We don't want to do this task really, even though we keep saying to ourselves we're going to do it. So we're going to do everything possible in our power to avoid doing this task. That will keep building over time until the point where you hate the thought of having to do the thing you said yourself you want to do. A lot of people get this with the gym. You say you're going to go to the gym, you say you're going to eat well, you say you're going to do all these things, you're going to join the gym class, you're going to do whatever. Every time you avoid it and every time you make excuses, it feels that much harder to do, to the point where you hate the thought of going to the gym, to the point where you hate the thought of joining that gym club, that class, eating a fucking carrot. Like, you will build it up so much in your brain that you'll hate the thought of even doing it. So what is the chances that you're ever going to execute? Probably slim to none. So this is the first step. We are having space and we are stopping, feeling what we actually need to be feeling about this overwhelm. We're reassessing the goal, making sure that we're still on track if we need to be, putting in the things that we need to do so that we can execute. We're checking in with ourselves. Is this something I still really want? If it's aligned, perfect. What do I need to do? Check in with myself and the things that I need to do to get it done. And then we're executing. We're setting ourselves up correctly. We are planning in the actual time that we need to do the tasks that we say we're going to do. And most importantly, we're going to do the tasks, right? All of that to say, you still need to do the task. So build up the amount of execution. No, sorry, that is not the sentence I want to say. Build up your word and your trust with yourself by starting small. If you need to make a whole TikTok series, make a series of 7. Don't make a series of 100 days. Don't make a series of 30 days. Make a series of 7 days. Make a series of 3 days. Make one series whilst you're sat there for 2 hours and have all of them planned out and executed in the 2-hour time frame. Don't leave it to another day. Don't leave it till next week, right? Start small, build big. Okay, that is our first step. Step number 2, we need space, we need to clear your head, and we need a new perspective. If you are feeling overwhelmed, it's going to be so full in your brain. It's going to feel so hard to even process minimal thoughts, let alone thinking about everything you need to do for the rest of the week, the rest of the month, the rest of the year. So create space for yourself. Take yourself on a really quiet morning walk, afternoon walk, evening walk, whatever. Stop listening to as much music. Stop listening to all the podcasts, all the audiobooks. Stop trying to find solutions outside of yourself because the answers you need are within you. You will probably already know them. You just haven't let your brain bring them to the surface because you're avoiding it so hard. Sorry, coffee break. Um, you need to create space for yourself because when you're feeling this overwhelm, the millions of thoughts buzzing around your brain are blocking out and creating noise around the fact that you already know what's within yourself. You already know the answer. You're just avoiding having to deal with the fallout of it, right? So clear your head. Get, can you hear this plane? It's so loud. Clear your head, create this space for yourself to actually do the deep thinking you need to do to shift this overwhelm. You're not going to shift the overwhelm with constant distraction, with constant noise, with constant stimulation of all of our short form media, long form media, whatever. You need space and time to actually do the deep thinking, to do the second and third degrees of thinking. And it can feel really scary to have to sit with yourself in silence and process what you need. So if you need mediums like a pen and a piece of paper to let it out, if you need to voice note, you can on the journal app on iPhones now, you can voice note yourself. Um, they can be locked and stuff as well. So if you're worried about other people accessing them and things like that, your journals can be locked on your iPhone. Type journal, whatever. You can take yourself out to a literal empty field and just fucking scream if you need to. If you're feeling that overwhelmed, it's in your body, you're feeling like there's just too much inside of you. Take yourself to an empty field. You might scare the cows, but just scream. Let it out. Let out everything that's just stored up inside of you right now. Do yoga, do some meditation, calm your brain in a way that means this overwhelm isn't constantly getting on top of you. You're not just like topping up an already full cup. You're letting out some of this pressure, right? You're letting out some of the water and all the things flowing around. So you need space, you need to clear your head, and you need a new perspective. So once you've had that space, once you've given yourself the space and time to be able to do this deep thinking, then you might need a perspective shift. You might need to talk out with someone, whether that's me, whether that's someone in your industry area or your work that knows the path that you're already on. Get ahead of it and speak to someone who knows what the fuck they're talking about. Because 9 times out of 10, the people that have already done it ahead of you are going to have all the answers to the questions that are floating around your head. If you don't have the answers within you yet because you're unsure still, then seek them out from other people who have done what you're trying to do, who have walked the same career path, who have done a course that you would like to do, and you can ask their opinion on it, whether it's worth your time and it's going to teach you the things that you've got questions about. Speak to a coach whose literal job it is to help you dissect through all of this and work out a plan of action. If the people closest to you are not the ones that are going to support you through this, do not bring it to them because 9 times out of 10, the answers and the perspectives they're going to have are probably ones you've already worked through yourself. And instead of helping you, it's probably going to hinder you. So if you know that the people around you are not going to be supportive of potential changes, of the struggle you're feeling right now, then simply don't bring it to them because the answers you're going to receive are likely not the ones that you want or the ones that are going to actually be helpful to your situation. So have new perspectives. Go to people that you haven't already talked this through with who might have a different view on it or might have some different or new information that you don't currently have access to. You can do this for free. You can find people that have discovery calls and things like that that are offering all of these services for free. You can go onto YouTube and things like that and search the key topic that you're having questions about. Is it that you need HR support? Is it that you need a chemistry teacher? Is it that you need a business mentor? Search those things on YouTube, on TikTok, wherever it is you find easiest to consume it, and then get your advice from there, then get your new perspectives from there, right? Because the same people going to them with the same problems over and over again aren't going to create any new results. So change your perspectives, right? Right. Okay, coffee break, sorry. And our third and final thing when you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling like everything is just a bit too much right now, is to create a master to-do list and a micro to-do list. One planner that I love, if you're an online person or a physical person, is the Productivity Method by Grace Beverley. I adore the online planner. I've completely curated it to myself. I spent like a day, honestly, curating it to myself, and it's been the most helpful tool I've had probably since I started my business. And I paid for it once, never have to pay for it again. I can consistently update and change it to my needs and suit myself. This is not a paid endorsement. This is just something that's really helped me, and it might help you too. Um, Within that planner, I have a master to-do list that's set in categories. So I brain dump when I'm feeling overwhelmed of all the things that are floating around my brain that I need to do. So it's just a long list on my Notion. I then drag and drop them. Obviously, if you're handwriting or whatever, you can do this too. I drag and drop them into categories. So I have a life category, I have a business category. Break it down further. I have an elite mind category. I have a unstoppable woman category. I have a one-to-one client category. I have a website category. However it is that's going to help me to process it best and see what I need to do most clearly, most simply. That is how I will break it down into categories. So I have my master to-do list with the entire brain dump of every minimal task, every massive task I have to get done. That can be edit this reel, edit the promo for this, write the copy for this email. You see what I mean? Get back to this client about this thing. That's the master to-do list. I put it into my category so I can clearly see, okay, if I'm working on my life to-do list today, these are the things I need to get done. If I'm working on my elite mind to-do list today, these are the things I need to get done. From that master to-do list of having everything that's stored in your brain written down on paper, include repeat tasks in this as well. If you need to consistently order your prescription medication, put that on the list so you can tick it and untick it every time you've done it and every time you need to do it again. Things like that. From that master to-do list, I will then create a micro to-do list on the daily and pick a category or pick a thing I need to get done. Or if I'm looking at my week ahead, I will pick the 3 most important things on my to-do list category wise that need the most attention. So either that's the longest list that hasn't been touched in a while and I really need to get those things ticked off, whether it's a deadline. So in my master to-do list, if I need to put a deadline to something like getting back to a client that has a deadline tagged on it, so I can see it in my calendar that this has to be done by this date. So I'll move that into my micro to-do list. I will work on blocks of things. So if I know that I need to write emails and I'm going to be in my copy head and I'm in my creative writing brain, I know that if I get my emails done for this, I can also write some copy for my reels. I can also then write a blog post. I can also then get back to a creative proposal that I've been working on in the background because that part of my brain is already switched on. So I will then group all those tasks in my micro to-do list to get them done in the same amount of time or in the same work block or the same creative flow so that I don't have to switch back to it tomorrow after doing heavy numbers working in the back end of my business, looking at sales and numbers and statistics. It's going to be really hard for me to shift into my creative brain at that point and write copy for a blog post. You see what I mean? So my micro to-do list will reflect the states of my brain that I'm needing to access at different times. So like with the example of being in my numbers brain, that will probably lend quite closely to planning ahead for my next week because it's a numbers game. It's working out how much time I need things done in, need to do things in, all that kind of thing. So then that part of my brain will align great to these tasks. So therefore, they will go on my micro to-do list. All of this to say, you need a strategy so you only have to do the big thinking like once per quarter. It's amazing how much time we spend and distract ourselves by rethinking the same problems over and over and over again. I don't need to rethink the problem of when I'm going to order my prescription over and over and over again because I know the amount of times I need to order it in a year. I put it in my calendar once and I never have to think about it again because the reminder will come up. The moment the reminder comes up, I click on it, I order my prescription, and then I don't have to think about it again, right? So how many times are we having to rethink the same problems over and over because we haven't just sat down for 4 hours one time and planned it all out ahead of time? So this is why your master to-do list and your micro to-do lists are amazing, as well as time blocking your calendar, because you only have to do that big thinking once per quarter. If you know that you have regular meetings at work on a Wednesday, you have a regular appointment you schedule with your therapist, you have all of these regular items that can just be planned 3 months in advance, put into your calendar, you never have to think about them again. You always have a Sunday upload. You know you need 6 hours of editing that week. You can just have them time blocked into a regular section. So you don't even have to think on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. You just know that's your editing days. You'll just edit the content you've already filmed. Perfect. These are thinking problems that we no longer need to have because we've thought ahead of time, we've planned, and we've executed them, right? So look at what you need big thinking on and plan out one day in every 3 or 4 months that you need to think on that problem, and set yourself up in a way that on that day you get all the thinking done, you plan it all in so that you don't have to think about these problems again, right? It's going to be so much easier to slip into overwhelm when you have no fucking idea what you're doing in the next 3 hours, let alone the next 3 weeks. So set yourself up in a way that means this overwhelm you're feeling right now doesn't have to be a weekly issue or a monthly issue. Think in a strategic way. Think to second and third degrees of thinking here without shaming yourself that you didn't know this before, you haven't done it before, or you don't know when you're going to next have time to do it. Take out all of the sorry, stammering now. Take out the element of emotion from this and just look as if you are a CEO of your life. I am planning ahead for this business of life. What things do I need to get done? Where do I have time to do it? And then simply do them. You're never going to get rid of this overwhelm if you don't actually do the things you're supposed to be doing. So plan as much as you need to, but don't spend so much time planning that you never actually execute, because that is a very easy thing that people can fall into. But if you need 2 days to plan for the next 4 months, that is a great leverage of your time so that you only have to do the big thinking once or twice. That is my full roundup of how to get yourself out of this overwhelm. I really hope this helps. If there are any points that you aren't super clear on, you need an extra bit of guidance on, you might want a template for something, hit me up on Instagram. Let me know your thoughts on it. And if you need any extra help, I'm always here for you. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope you feel a little bit less overwhelmed after listening to this and you have a clear plan of action of what you need to do next and some ideas and tips and tricks on what you can be getting up to so that you're removing this feeling of overwhelm. Remember, if you need to just go stand in a field and scream and maybe have a snack, that option is always available to you. And I will see you in the next episode of the Alex Beyond Thoughts podcast. Bye, guys.